So you saw in the gallery, some of you maybe next door, a bunch of monitors um, that have what I call image mixing mixes on them. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the class this morning, I, you know, came in the early years from a background of music, and I was always very jealous of musicians and their ability to jam, basically, with their instruments, responding to each other in real time. So making an experience of music. You mentioned this earlier, the difference between music and film. Um, making a piece of music on the spot in a language with their instruments. So I wanted to do this with. There we go. I wanted to do this with images, and after making Gambling Gods and LSD, I sort of devised a setup with many different mini DV players and VHS decks and audio decks, and had a big table full of all these machines, and they were all routing sounds and images through mixers, and I would just push play on everything, and I would see sometimes on preview monitors what was playing, and then I would bring it in and create a live edit. So that was the early days, like early 2000s. And then I had the good fortune in Toronto of being introduced by, or being introduced to a man named Greg Hermanovich, who runs a software company that had previously created 3D software that was used extensively in the early uses of 3D software in Hollywood. And he was also a physicist who became a software designer and had a very artistic bent as well. And he saw what I was trying to do and showed me some of the early stages of what he was doing with his software, which is called Touch Designer. And we started working together now, whatever it is, 12, 15 years on this thing, which is an instrument that can be used in an improvisational way like musicians would do. So what I thought I would do is just show you how it works, or try to. So you're looking at an output right now. Maybe somebody could hold the microphone. Don't hit me. So, hello? Yeah, okay. So, right now I have 4 images loaded. So that's a blank screen, obviously. Now you see that image. Now you see this image. Now you see this image. And now you see the seahorse. So it's basically a four channel mixer, which works similar to audio mixing. And I have controllers here that will allow me to create different blends. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the interface, which creates this. So I think you don't see the mouse, right? You don't see a mouse. That's too bad. Okay, how am I going to do this? I can explain, yeah. So in the top left of the screen, you see many little boxes. And if I click on one of those boxes, I get a new set of images. So this is like an archive. There's probably about 2,000 clips in the computer right now, and there's a back archive of things that are not turned on and things that I could turn on. So I'll take images from everywhere, stuff that I've filmed, other people's films, sometimes with permission. Um, the China Olympics is what I just clicked on. So just as an example, you have these different bins of different possibilities, different clips. Now over here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4 channels I was pointing out earlier. And if I go further right, you see the 4 channels again. And below those 4 channels, you see how 1 and 2 blend. So if I bring in, that's 2 and 1. Are you seeing that? Yeah. And if I take in 3 and 4, that's the blend I get there. And then if I blend 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, which are the 2 boxes below the 4 boxes, then you get the final box, which is at the bottom, which is the sort of orange blob. Okay, so I'm going to make it simpler again, and I will take an image that was actually shot for Gambling Gods. So I'm back over on the left side, and there's a menu that opens up, and I will point that into channel A, and there it is in channel A. Then I can start to bring that number 1 image in and take number 2 image out. You can see the output in the bottom right. There's also sound associated with clips, and the clips have speed ranges. So I'm back under number 1, I'm speeding up the clip. So just to give you an idea. On each of these 4 channels, you have a variety of manipulations that you can put in, and again, to use the sound analogy, it's kind of like filters on your mixing board. So, for example, this is negative of that image. This is zoom of that image, rotate, multiply. All these kinds of things. That's reset. Can also record a gesture sometimes there. So say I want to do a gesture here. I can do this gesture. And I can basically, on all the controls that are in the channels, I can record gestures if I want, and those gestures can be responses to musical patterns that someone is playing. And then I can just reset that, or maybe there, yeah. What else? What's that? I don't have any music. Yeah, I mean, so you have a palette of effects that go. This is drift and mirroring the drift, feedback, etc. So that's kind of the quick rundown of how this works. Any questions? Okay, so if I show you the, it's 1280 by 720. It can do higher resolution if you let it render the higher resolution. So the end sequence in the end of time that you just saw in the film was 1920 by 1080, so it was a higher resolution. So here we're seeing a lower resolution. It also depends what the original imagery is like, of course. But I use a lot of low-grade images anyway.
Yellow lines. Toxic battery acid with the 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 yellow
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, you kind of have to get into a zone and know where you're going, like any musical instrument, to do something that's not just a big mess. So I tried for a moment there.